put together a lot of this mumbo jumbo out there around who's a Jew and who's an Israelite, so forth and so on. All right. Now, let's look at this map now. Now that we touched on the Israel area, the area that's in the, you could say the orange area of it. You understand? Now let's touch on the green area, and let's begin from east to west, because that was the movement of that remnant from east to west. Now, when was the approximate time of that movement? First of all, we know 70 AD is a historic point in time. So during 70 AD, you understand? And then there's other different movements of people, you understand, from 70 AD all the way down to around 12 when Yakuno Amlak, what was it, 1230. You understand? The ZAGWE dynasty was one of our Ethiopian Hebrew dynasties. I'm speaking about we as so-called Negroes in America, you understand, and in the Caribbean. Our ancestors in Ethiopia, some of them were the ZAGWE kings, the ones who built Lalibela and so forth and so on, from the Agao or the Agor people, who, very interesting enough, the Falashas or the BEYTE Israel are also related to this Agor people. You understand? Or as Europeans would say, the more Negro-looking peoples. Even though our looks and features are not limited to that particular group of people, embrace the entire Ethiopian spectrum, but these were some of our people right there. If you study more on the ZAGWE and the whole controversy that some Ethiopian scholars have about there being legitimate or illegitimate Solomonic rulers, and when they say the Solomonic dynasty was restored, you understand? That's what some people would tell you. But His Imperial Majesty, touching on the truth, basically says that there was no interruption in the dynasty, you understand, of David and the dynasty of Solomon. There was no interruption. People say the Solomon line was interrupted, and others say no, it was not interrupted. His Imperial Majesty Abatachin, Kadus Abatachin, says there was no interruption. So studying the history, putting it together, he is correct, there was no interruption. But the other Ethiopians who say this were of the usurpers, you understand, the usurpers, you understand, during that time around 1230 or so, where the dynasty was restored. A lot of political intrigues and so forth and so on. Now this caused some movements. Some moved north, as you see one arrow, and very interesting, that arrow goes to Greece. If you look in the book of Joel, chapter 3, it speaks about the enslavement of the Judahites. That means the Ethiopian Hebrew peoples, the Ethiopian Hebrew BEYTE Israel, the non-Ashkenazi Jews, their enslavement in Greece. You understand? Another link right there, you understand, to our being scattered all over the world, speaking all different languages. So many times you may see in history, it may say, oh, this one was a Greek, but many of those who were Greeks were Ethiopian, or this one was a Roman. Some of them were black folks. You understand? Some of them were Ethiopian Hebrews or Israelites, just like some of y'all are American, some of y'all are West Indian, and have various different other nationalities that have been imposed on you. Even though you know or may know of what your root is as an African or from whatever particular tribe you may connect yourself or be connected with, your ID says you're an American or you're English or you're West Indian from this island, that island, this place and that place, or Canadian or whatever like that. You understand? That's the same link as many of our peoples in ancient times. All right. So now when we look at this map, we see there's a east to west migration in this map. It's very important to look at the east to west migration in this map. This basically is proven by the scriptures. This is proved by history. Some very good books, even by Rudolph Windsor, From Babylon to Timbuktu is a good book, and Valley of the Dry Bones also gives us historical information that shows this Hebraic identity of our people, this BEYTE Israel, non-Ashkenazi, Judahite identity of the people, and their migration from what was known as Israel, old Israel, southward into the regions that we will call Nubia or Sudan, Ethiopia, and westward beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, as Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 9 and 10 states, to West Africa. You understand? And then now in West Africa, we have the Timbuktu region, Mali, Ghana, Songhai, so forth and so on. Now, when they tell us of so-called slave trade, they only focus on the Western enslavement of our people. The enslavement of our people was continentally. You understand? It took place all over the continent. There was an East African slave trade. You understand that also